Good morning. Where did that come? It was the potato god
Watch what you say.
hovering over us,
you're
saying
being
thank you
recorded.
for your donations. All right, how's everybody doing? Excellent, excellent. Good seeing everybody. Got a good house, full house today almost. Thank you. All right. You
Perfect.
taking over?
Yeah.
Lead it
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to everybody who showed up to Red Day. Just huge success. We had a great day serving at the Oregon Food Bank. Green made a little video, so Cole's gonna play that.
Start it all. Nice job.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Kareem, team leader by day,
Yeah.
video editor by night.
That was my first Red Day, and I really enjoyed that a lot. I think we had the best potato sacking crew at my pallet. So
Debatable. Debatable.
But if you're ever in dire need of a good conversationalist, Azure is unbelievable, keeping the momentum going, the storytelling, the experiences. We had emotional stories at our potato sacking palette. We had some humorous ones, but she is fantastic. But that was really a good time. I really enjoyed bonding with a lot of you. Some of the biggest potatoes I've ever seen, and probably some of the smallest flighters I've ever seen at the restaurant. So I didn't know a postage stamp sized piece of meat could fit on a bun that big, but it was fun. It was great hanging out with everybody. So hope everybody else had my plate was just full of buns.
The frustrating part is they were good, just so small.
Yeah,
they're just
exactly. Anyway, but it was a good time. So we'll get something going again. So thank you everybody for their your time and your donation.
All right.
Okay. We've been promoting this before, and this is in honor of Veronica, and this is actually happening today, right?
Today, yeah,
From
right
11 to
this.
2. This is a meet the builder, meet the designer, meet this new type of construction. And then it's from 11 to 2. There is a meet and greet, a tour of the property, the facility, meet the builder, designer, as I said. Then there's an hour CE class afterwards that's being taught. I believe there's food and beverages being served, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there'll be food and drinks, and then from 1 to 2 is a CE class. So if you want to get there, a little bit before the CE class to, tour it, learn more about the property, and then they'll just dive right into the CE.
Yeah, and let's go show some support and some love for Veronica since she's hosting this one. So that's today, right after this meeting. So scan it to get more information.
Oh, yeah. She says register if you're going to show up, so they make sure they have enough lunch. But yeah.
Cool.
Go support. And then we have our own Sean Varwood, wherever you are. Oh, in the back. He's teaching tomorrow our CE class on home staging and just the value of that and just how that can just benefit your clients, financially, and just the speed of the transaction and all the different things that you'll find with staging. So show up, scan the barcode. Can be a good class. Sean's a good time. Sean's hilarious. You're gonna learn a lot.
Any teasers for us as to what we're going to hear from you at all, Sean?
Yes, about that. the title Maximizing Value and talk about how staging homes actually helps increase the value of the home. And if you want to know how you can potentially get your client a 500% return on their investment, be here tomorrow.
Sweet.
And I think that to sell for more staged homes, or just getting a professional set of eyeballs on a house to maybe reconfigure existing furnishings and things of that nature too, which those are services you provide. Yeah, excellent. We look forward to that, Sean. Yeah.
All right.
Mobile car detailing service. Okay, so
we scrapped that.
Oh, we did scrap that one.
Scrapped that one. We're
All
good.
right.
Nope.
We're
all
done with
full.
that.
We're all full. They're out there right now cleaning cars.
Yeah. So
you snooze, you lose kind of situation. You know, he's up there.
You can't believe the amount of how many quarters that guy has found already in the seat cushion. So
yeah.
Does anybody use quarters still? I don't even know if they even make them anymore. So what's a quarter? Yeah, I'm showing my age. And then this guy, geez, he's everywhere. Thursday, contract mastery workshop from 11 to 1:30. We're going to briefly go over the sale agreement, but we're going to spend a little bit more time on some ancillary documents, such as the contingent right to purchase and maybe backup offer addendums, things of that nature. Other elements that'll come into play sometimes in your contract dealings and things of that nature. We're seeing a lot of those. And here's a little trivia question. So let's say you are, you've written a contingent right to purchase and your house is on the market. Your seller of house number 2 has accepted your contingent offer. Okay. What is the status at that time when you submit the contingent offer of that property you're purchasing? House number 2. When you submit the offer, they accept it, and you have a contingency. The contingency says, I've yet to put the property on the market, or the house is on the market. What is the status of that house when that seller accepts your contingent offer? That's correct. You remove that contingency by notice to the seller that, hey, I've got an offer. Okay, what does it become? Thank you. We're getting a lot of confusion in the marketplace about that status. We've had sellers that are refusing to make it pending, and we have some buyer's agents that are confused at why I should be pending initially. Well, no, you haven't submitted the buyer notice the seller that you've received an offer. So make sure that, and a lot of times you'll see the sellers wanting to keep it bumpable, even though you've performed and you've submitted the contract saying, hey, we've got an offer now. So bumpable until you either give the seller option 1 or 2. I've received an offer, or I haven't received an offer. We'll renegotiate or we'll terminate. Okay. Mm-hmm. So thank you. Appreciate that. A+ for everybody. So we'll go over a little bit of that on Thursday. Right. Make sure you register or let us know so we can get enough food for you, and we'll be good to go. Were you stretching, or was that a answer to question? Actually, you're my best student. You should be sitting in front. Okay.
Perfect. All righty. We're going to do a headshots and happy hour on May 22nd. I think right now all the time slots are booked for headshots happy hour, but still come out to the happy hour. And she works pretty quick. Sometimes we have people drop out too. So if you're still looking for a headshot, there's still a pretty good chance we could still squeeze you in and get you in that day for a headshot. So still come out, hang out. We'll all be here having a good time per usual.
Now, will there be like props and stuff like fake mustaches, top hats, beaded? Oh, that's a different goal.
Different.
Okay, all right.
Probably
pictures start out after the alcohol is starting to be consumed. Okay. Yeah, that's when we want the rosy cheeks.
That's right.
So we will drink first, photos second.
Couple vinos deep, and then you
exactly
get your headshot.
Yeah. And those props. Yeah.
And the prop.
And the happy hour at the Francis. Okay, so this is a courtesy of Kohana. This is Noah's program, and these are brand new condos that have been built close to downtown Lake Oswego. Noah's not here to give us kind of what the deal is, but they are having an open house. You're going to learn about Kohana, which is kind of the shared ownership program of one of the penthouses at the Francis at this event. And there'll be some, and then he'll also share the floor plans, get a view of the actual unit, tell you how that program works, how much that costs, how those shared investments, shared ownership plans work at Kohana. And then we'll meet the builder, meet the designer, again, another one of these featured elements where we get to see how these things are put together, how these are priced out and things of that nature. So that's coming up on the 29th from 3 to 5. We'll get better verbiage on that from Noah when he comes in next time. but put that on your calendar. It's a good time to see some alternatives, investment alternatives to shared housing, temporary, vacation housing, things of that nature. So good opportunity to support one of our own as well in that program with NOAA. So coming up.
They're really cool, like $2 million condos. They're super
exactly.
nice and really well done. So it'll be a fun time going out there. All right, peanut gallery. And then save the date once again for the summer picnic. Last year was a ton of fun out at Tumwater. So we'd love to see you all there. Make sure you put in your calendars. Corinne and I are going to start playing this thing, and I think we might even do a theme this year. So stay tuned. Julie and I were talking about that. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. Love a good theme. Then Homefront, Asher, floor is yours.
Hello. Good to see everybody. I'm just going to give you a quick update. If you guys have been watching the news, there has been some change with some of the administration and the tariff info coming out. The stock market reacted in a positive fashion. That means the bond market wasn't as strong. That means rates go up a hair. So rates are up a little bit over last week. This week, 6.88 is the national average for conventional 30-year fixed. You can expect probably a half to 3/4 lower in FHM. I checked that this morning. I was kind of busy, but rates are up slightly over last week because the market was rallying pretty hard due to that news. So that's it for today. Perfect. I'll be around if you guys have anything.
Shout out for after.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, shout it out.
So we had some clients who poo-pooed their first agent interview because the agent brought up reverse mortgage. And the agents therefore, the clients therefore were like, I can't believe he said that, like they were never gonna talk to him again. So Julie and I went and had a listing appointment with them, and needless to say, we didn't talk about reverse mortgage. But it did come up later in the process as really the best option for them. So I called Azure, we talked to me, whatever it was, and I said, I am really hoping someone will bring this up with them in a way that's very non-threatening, because it really is a good solution for them, but they're so just emotionally against it, right? And so we had a Zoom, and Azure got on and very kindly and openly, at risk to herself, having her head bit off, brought up the term reverse mortgage. Well, we closed that by last week. Nice. And thank you for you and like just being willing to go out of your comfort zone, knowing that they were really against this, and then of course working the process and closing it in like 31 days, which was amazing. So thank you, Azure. Good job.
All right, multifamily. This is the next in our series. Again, we're going to be going through all the different asset classes or the product divisions that are recognized at our company. We might throw in some ancillary additional ones that I think should be covered at the very end. But next on our list will be multifamily. Thank you. Again, we're going to be going really quick. Okay. And at the very end, I'm going to be asking, as we go through each of these topics, if there's a good number of people who are interested in a deep dive or learning more about any of these product divisions. I'll ask at the end, and if we are, we can host something that's a little bit more in depth, because obviously we only have a couple minutes here. The biggest distinction that I want to make within multifamily is just the residential versus what we call commercial. And technically it is 2 to 4 units would fall under residential. And then a commercial would be 5 or more. And a big part of that is the lending side, which we also can maybe have a class about going at some point in the future. Oh, some subclasses you'll hear often: workforce housing, affordable housing, and then the types: garden style, mid-rise, high-rise, a little less in Portland or the suburbs, but student housing and then senior living. And actually, as an office, we have experience in a decent number of those categories, probably with the exception of high-rise. Most of the valuation is typically on the income-based side. There's also income, sales, and cost approach, very similar to other types of real estate or residential. NOI, this is the cap rate. You often hear cap rate mentioned. We've mentioned it in other classes that we've done, but NOI divided by your cap rate is your value. And obviously that varies based on location and the quality of your asset. And then sales comparison approach is actually a little bit more used in the 2 to 4 unit range than anything higher. You won't hear that quite as much. Cost approach is mostly just new construction stuff, but again, it depends on the situation. A couple key metrics to consider: net operating income we mentioned as a part of the cap rate equation, price per unit, rent per square foot, occupancy rate, and then GRM, your gross rent multiplier, some larger, but not as much on the large side, more on the small side. And then there's another one, Bradley, you mentioned to me, expense ratios are becoming more and more talked about today. Obviously, they've always mattered, but where before you could have expense ratios in like the upper 30s to 45%, sub 50, they're now, we see a lot of them that are over 50%. I mean, would you agree with that? Yeah. Financing, that was something I mentioned before. So 2 to 4 units are financed more like residential, and then 5 more units considered more on the commercial side. A big thing that you want to ask in the financing world is always recourse versus non-recourse. And that's just like, is it just the risk subject to the property, or are you signing on the loan? That is recourse versus non. Some common lenders that you've heard most about: agency financing. If you ever hear agency loans, that's Freddie and Fannie. And oftentimes, not always, more attractive rates and longer amortization, which can be a benefit for single party lenders. DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. We've had a great class on that I attended. I'd love to have another one at some point. LTV, borrower experience is a big part of evaluating on the loan side. And then if it's something that's not stabilized in multifamily, that kicks out a whole different category. So depends on what it is, but oftentimes multifamily, I'm looking at 150 unit complex right now, and it's under 90%. So that they would oftentimes a lot of loan lenders would consider that not stabilized. And then some common questions. I mean, these you'll see. My goal with doing this across the different asset classes is that there are a lot of common questions that are the same across the different asset classes. So location, what are their investment goals? Oftentimes there are some specific questions that you can ask. Like in multifamily, a lot of times they're looking at like landlord-friendly jurisdictions, right? Which Portland and Multnomah County isn't known to be. And so working with people that working with a multifamily owner right now who has several projects in Portland, they're just trying to find the right time to sell here and buy in Boise or Phoenix. And then on the financing side, if preferred lenders they work with, these are a little bit more in detail. Always, if they're, what's the nature of, if they're on the buy side, do they have a 1031 exchange? Those are, some of the best buyers to work with, just given the motivation, right? A lot of people say they want to buy multifamily. A lot of people say they want to buy multifamily, but then once you drill down on like what their buyer metrics are, a lot of them are filtered out. So if you can have the motivation of something like a 1031, it changes the entire conversation. Oh, and then probably the last question is probably one of the biggest for qualifying too. Do they own other multifamily units? That's oftentimes a big driver. Yes.
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this. Are you comfortable having conversations with these types of landlords around seller financing, or have you?
Yeah, I'm having one right now. Yes.
That's freaking amazing for these properties.
It is. You want to know from the seller standpoint or the buyer standpoint, all of the details though. So there are some multifamily owners that have owned their apartments for 20 years. In that scenario, seller financing is going to absolutely destroy them, because if they, depending on the amount down, the balloon that they have to pay, if they do like a 5-year IO loan, they're going to have the tax that they have on their balloon is not, they can't do an exchange with that money.
Yeah.
So, that's a really good point, and it's very common. If there's a death in the family and there's a step up in basis, that changes that entire conversation. And that can be a huge benefit, especially today. Any other questions? Thanks for your time.
Tim's going to share with us some pretty cool stuff. Tim, go ahead.
I just wanted to give you a heads up. If you haven't met me, I'd like to sit down and chat with you. Tim Stewart. I just joined the Keller Williams commercial side as well. And I do real estate at auction. We have two properties coming up, and we're working on about 4 or 5 more. This one's up at Dayton, Oregon. It's a 4.5 acre, used to be a hazelnut processing facility. That's coming up May 29th. And then we've got one here in Jerome, Idaho. I'm licensed in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho. This is 5 commercial lots right off Highway 93 and Highway 84, right at the intersection. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to chat with you. The preview for the Dayton property, that's been on the market for 2 years, 2+ years. And we're going to sell it at auction. We're going to be subject to the seller's confirmation. It'll be a sealed bid auction. And hopefully we'll get it sold. So if you have any buyers or investors, give us a call.
Tim, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why do we go to auction? Why not just keep it on the market for another 2 years?
Well, if you want to sit and wait, that's fine. You know, they started it, the original list was 3 million.
Okay.
And that didn't happen, you know, and that was almost I think it was almost a year on that one. And then they relisted it with somebody else at 2.6. Then he dropped it at 2.4. It's a waiting game. If you know, sure, you've got to, they want to move on. They've closed the business. It's not functioning. There is still equipment in there. We are going to sell the equipment after we sell the real estate. So that'll be all on kwpp.hivbid.com. So HIVID. There's a signage in the hallway there that has the KWPP website on it.
So this is the goal here, is just to get this offloaded. Any other, aside from this seller here, what about your other clients?
So
it's just like speed process, they just liquidation ASAP.
Yeah, and then this is for the University of Idaho. We sent a proposal in and they chose us and I'm working with partners out of Higginbotham is out of Florida. And they've got a guy down in San Diego that does all their government work. So he and I have done several different properties together and we partner. I've got one up in Lewiston, Idaho, which is right across from the library from Lewis Clark College. And then we've got 13 acres up in Palouse that we're working on, northern Washington. And also we have Dayton, Washington. Dayton, Washington up just north and east or west or east of Walla Walla. So I've got a partner in Walla Walla that I do a lot of deals with.
Wow.
Tim, on these auction deals, so you did say something, I just didn't recognize that term. So can the seller say absolutely not if it doesn't come up high enough?
We're selling subject to the seller's confirmation, which is typically kind of like a traditional offer.
Okay.
But we're only dealing with the highest bidder.
Okay.
So the highest bidder gets the privilege to sit down and they'll write an offer. We'll present it to the seller. Give them all of our input of, hey, this is what we've done. This is the results we got. Here's the offer. And they can accept it, reject it, or reject it with a counter. 90% of everything I do gets sold. So there's not a whole lot of stuff that doesn't get done. Well, I don't take it. I'm smart. I've gotten smart over the years from my mistakes or whatever to figure out, hey, this will work in auction. Just about any property will work in auction. It's usually the seller's situation that forbids it. So appreciate it. We got a preview this Saturday from 10 to 3. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Timmy. Luxury, residential, commercial, auction, we've got it all. So you've got all those resources here. And I know one of you probably knows someone that would be interested in this Dayton property. So get them hooked up and talk to Tim and see what he can do about getting that thing sold. So I think we're going to move on to Brandy Smith. Brandy's here with First American Title. Good morning, Brandy.
Good morning.
How are you?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and Brandy is basically hosting and presenting our RMLS with Avery Horner is over here getting set up.
You wanted
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you,
For doing this last minute. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so glad we were able to help you. Last minute, so thank you for giving us the opportunity to come in and say hi this morning to all of you amazing KW agents. I'm Brady Smith.
But if you guys have like a whole setup here and it's not connected, I'll just.
I knew him when I became a first agent, like many years ago. So, when we were on the other side of the road, and yeah. So good seeing you. Sorry, I got sidetracked. I just really wanted to let you all know, if you haven't gotten an email from us or anything, but we do have a podcast with our economists, Mark Fleming and Odetta Cucci. And so they update that podcast, if you subscribe to it, on all things that are real estate fraudulent. So you can stay up to date with anything that's fraudulent that's going on within the market to make your clients aware of. And then also they update about the real estate economy, obviously. So it's just kind of great information to just subscribe to listen in on hot topics of the real estate market. If you're interested in it, I can just forward you the link and you guys can check it out for yourselves if you would like that. And thank you so much, Avery, for carving a little bit of time to go over some new updates. He's got some really great things to talk about. And then he also has some, I don't know if you're able to share the other updates that you were telling me about.
Absolutely. I
Oh,
can share
perfect.
all that.
Cool.
Perfect.
Awesome. So he does have some really great tips and tricks for you guys. So thank you so much, Avery. And thank you also for having us.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Question for you. You mentioned fraud.
Yes,
How are we looking at fraud? Is fraud on the uprise or is it level?
it's on the uprise.
Is it?
It's on the uprise,
Where are you
especially.
seeing it?
So we get a lot of fraudulent orders for opening up escrow on land lots. So a lot of people are fraudulent on that and they're giving us documents that are not who the real owners are. So these are like made up deeds that the escrow team that are receiving, saying that their client is the owner, when in reality it's not, right? And so, and usually with our amazing escrow officers, they've been trained so well that they've been able to catch these. We've also had an escrow officer on a Friday night where someone compromised her email address and was telling the buyer to transfer funds to a different account. And she caught it at 9 p.m. on a Friday all the time. It was like, stop doing that. And that was like over $2 million. So that person would have gotten a lot of money and we would have never been able to get it back, because once it's gone into a third world country, like a different country, we don't know where they go. So, so those are things that we constantly tell, like, you guys, when you guys open escrow with us, is that if, always check the email. It's usually a misspelling of the name. We just had that recently last month with Annette McCarthy. It looked like it came from her email and it was just one letter off. And it was not. So, and it was another trying to get people to open up a portal to get personal information from a client. So just always make sure that you tell your clients to reach out to either the escrow officers themselves or directly to you to make sure that they are in contact with the correct person. We always have the same routing number, just so you know. We are a First American Trust, we're a bank, so our routing number never changes. And we don't ever send different wiring instructions to your clients. They call them and ask them like how they would want their funds. So whether it be a written check or if they're doing a direct deposit. So, we don't ever send emails and saying like, hey, this is, your wiring instructions. They always call your client directly to figure that out.
Yeah, the best way to confirm is just to call and pick up and talk to somebody, not text or email, right?
Yeah, definitely call the escrow officer for sure. And then obviously make sure your clients always reach out to you as well to make sure that they, are in tune with who is doing their transaction. And with First American Title as well, I know it can be a little frustrating. We do have a secure portal for agents, and there's a code that you have to put in if you have a Gmail account. It's just an added security for you and your clients, so then you're not getting, attacked from the fraudsters, going into your email. So that's the reason why there's that two-part authentication. We've just gotten some feedback from some agents that are not happy who have Gmail accounts. It's only the ones that have Gmail accounts that make you do the two-part authentication, but it's just to protect you and your clients overall. So we're not here to try to make your work more hard. It's just making sure that you're protected and your clients are protected. That's the purpose for that.
Thank you for that update. I appreciate that. Well, let's pass it over to Avery.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. I'm super happy to be here. I was just here for an event pretty recently, and now I'm here on the other side of things, teaching instead.
Good.
One real quick thing about fraud I wanted to mention too. If you do run into a listing where you run into some fraudulent stuff, you can also report this to RMLSweb, and we keep a little log. And if someone posts one where we've had some issues with it in the past, we'll give them a little email. It's not going to prevent you from obviously publishing the listing, but we'll let you know and say, hey, we have run into some issues with this on the past. We just wanted to let you know so that you're aware. And that way, you know, we give you the information and try to help you out as much as we can there. Obviously, sometimes it isn't fraudulent there. You've gotten the, you know, correct and everything, but we just want to let you know in case there has been some history on it in the past there. All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Avery Horner. I'm sure you're tired of hearing that part already. I have been a trainer here at RMLS for about 3.5 years now. But my whole life, I've been training people on different computer skills. My first job, I worked for a little small business warehouse. We shipped paleo and keto stuff. I didn't really do a lot of shipping though. I managed our database and sat behind a computer all day. And I trained people on how to use the database and stuff when they were new and helped fix it, make sure it was maintained and everything. After that, I worked for a company called OpenPoint, where I helped make maps for power, water, and waste utilities all across America. And I would help make the initial maps and train people on how to use them. And now I'm here at RMLS talking about the awesome stuff in our toolkit and in our website. We've had quite a few updates and some things that are coming in the future here. And I kind of want to just take a stop and talk about a few of them while we're here. So first off, an important thing I want to mention, it's on our homepage, but just in case, I'm going to poke around on our website here, but first I'm going to start like, you know, just telling you a bunch of stuff to start here. First thing, SentryLock, make sure your app is updated. They're sunsetting older versions of the app. So they will not be supported. If you have an older version of the app, you just haven't updated in a while, it won't work coming up here. Even if you do, you know, don't update by the time, the deadline, you could still go in the Google Play Store or App Store and update. But if it does stop working at any time, that's why. You just need to update your app. If you need a hand with that, let us know. We can help you out. And in fact, so we are doing some office visits here where we're going to bring a bunch of SentryLock batteries and jumping kits. So if you guys need a jump for a deadlock box or some batteries changed, we'll come to you. I know you guys are, you know, it's a long trek all the way to our corporate office. So maybe for you guys, it's not as important, but we're going to be going out and just kind of trying to meet you guys outside at your offices instead. All right, let's talk about a few updates and things. The first thing I want to mention are a few of our third-party tools because there's been some changes to them recently. So let's go ahead and in our toolkit dropdown, if you don't know, that little more button hides a few extra third-party tools. All of them are here in the toolkit, but if you click more, it gives you a few more that you might not already know about, and it gives you a little blurb about them. So let me talk about the new ones and the ones I think are really huge here. Align showings you guys already know about. I'm not going to spend any time with that one for you here, but if you guys want, I could come and do a little hour class on that sometimes and talk about the changes and new features. Fiber homes. I don't know if you guys are aware of that one. This one, you can click on it in the link here and search a home or on your listing load. When you click the more button on a listing, it exists there. This is a tool that tells you what internet providers are in an area, what speeds they offer, and if they have fiber internet or not. This is really great because as you guys all are, you probably know, since 2020, even though things are recovering a little bit, there's a lot of people that still like to have a home office. They want to be at home. They want to be able to send documents, join meetings, watch videos reliably without, you know, their internet cutting out. So Fiber Homes is a great way to check and make sure, hey, does this home have a good internet service available? Because even though we're, you know, we're here in Portland, there's still parts of Portland. I'm in Milwaukee. It's not great out there always with internet. So it's good to know before you move forward what internet is available. Does anyone have an address we want to test today? And I'll just show you what it looks like. No worries. I can use one of my old ones. So you just pop in an address, you click the yellow button, and the first thing it's going to do is tell you if fiber is available. We recently did get fiber. This is not my current address or anything. This is an old one. So nope, sorry, you can't stalk me. And then if you want more, you click, let me see the full report. And this is going to tell you, okay, well, CenturyLink fiber is available at this speed, Xfinity at this speed, Starlink at, well, we probably are going to pass on that one. This is a newer site, and so they're still getting some more things added. They're working on, I believe they want to get prices and links to the websites on the right side. And obviously prices are going to be a little bit different person to person. So they're trying to get like averages of what people are paying in an area to get out there.
Is this nationwide? What's the scope?
I believe it is going to be nationwide here. Yeah, this one's not locked to just the RMLS coverage area. You can just plug in anything in this search bar and it'll bring it up for you.
Avery, can I tell a quick horror story?
Yes, please.
At a previous brokerage, we were sued because we, the seller, misrepresented the access, the internet access to some telecommuters. That moved out in a rural area, and we were sued, and we had to alleviate some issues to 5 figures. Because we misrepresented
Oh my
the
gosh.
compatibility of their internet access. We said it was fiber and it wasn't, it was satellite.
Yeah.
And so this is a great piece of advice. It's so important these days.
Right.
Access, so I appreciate you bringing that up.
And what's nice about fiber homes is it tends to play it safer rather than, so if it's not sure, it'll just say no. Obviously, whenever you pull this up, double check and make sure, like poke around and do a little search, but this is gonna let you know as a first guess, and it's updating all the time. So maybe 1 week it doesn't show fiber and then they get it installed and built in that area. They'll try to get it up there pretty quick there. There's a couple more I want to just go through here. List track is, we call Remine a little bit of our stalker tool. List track is another one I like to call this. So you've seen back office view counts, right? They give you some simple view counts here in RMLS and you can email those out. List track tells you what website people are clicking on it from, where in the world people are clicking on it from, what reports people are generating on your listing. And you can look at it individually, listing to listing, and do automatic weekly emails that sends your client all of those details. So this gives really nitty gritty numbers of who's viewing it, where they're viewing it from, and what they want to know, what information. Lundy is a cool one we're putting together a class for. This is a voice search that searches through RMLS's listing data. And it uses an app here. I believe you can install it on your phone, and it also has like Alexa integration and stuff. You can tell it a search. You say, Lundy, search for 3-bedroom listings in the Milwaukee area that are between this price and this many square footage. And it'll go through, plug that into RMLS criteria, and either give you a web page or read them out to you. So that way, helpful when you're in the car where you have maybe a client who needs some additional, accessibility stuff where they have some trouble reading and they can read it out to them. This is a great tool for just being able to say, hey, let's go ahead and just hear them or say it out loud and we'll do the search for us. We also have the two that I teach classes on all the time here. And I'm sure that half of you here have used these before, but I cannot suggest enough. Before we get into the other stuff, the upcoming RMLS updates or recent RMLS updates, RPR and Remine. These two come free with your RMLS subscription. Most of these things come free with your RMLS subscription. SentryLock and Paragon are the real exceptions here. RPR is by NAR, and it is going to be the absolute best report generation tool that you guys have access to in RMLS's toolkit. It can do a 1-page flyer all the way up to an 81-page report that pulls tons of information. Now, I feel like 81 pages, that's a little too much to hand to just like your average client, right? I would see that and be like, I didn't ask for a whole book, right? It's really interesting though. I recommend going out there and do like the 81-page one on your own house because it's like, that's a lot of cool information. One thing RPR recently released that's really cool is an AI script writer. Still a little hesitant about all AI stuff, but this is a really cool one because basically what it does is it does a market report in the area and it says, okay, what are the trends in this area? What is the list price, list to sell price? What's this average square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms? What's everything selling for in this area? And it will turn that into a video script, a social media post, or a metrics analysis for you. You could choose the tone, the type of clients you're working with, and it'll plug all that information into what's relevant for the clients you've chosen and give you a script.
Through the app?
Yeah, right through RPR. So you just go, click on it. It might ask me to log in here. Let's see. Yep, it did. If you just pop in and run a search, let me see here. I'm just going to log in. Sometimes if you've been logged into RMLS for a bit, it might ask you to log in again when you try to access one of these third-party tools. Just go ahead and do what it says, log in again, and it'll allow you to access it. All right. Oh, and now it wants me to log into RPR. RPR will leave you logged in, for 2 weeks. Let me just switch on over here. I'll show you here. I'm logging in, so it's not going to show my. Okay, when you do, I'll show you here. So when you do any search for anything on RPR, I'm just going to go ahead and click on one of these new listings, view the full details. If you go into market trends, this can also be found by going into the research and running a residential market trends search. There's the create script, and this is what will allow you to do that. Now, I always say, think of this as a first draft. This is a computer. Yeah, it's been pretty accurate for me, but like any computer, you know, 1 times out of every 50, you're going to be like, that doesn't make any sense. So it's a really cool little tool, quick and easy. You just click on it and it's going to, I'll just create a simple one here. Boom, like that. It does include things like, this is a video script, so it's like, here, let's start with me standing over a beautiful Portland neighborhood. Social media posts, it'll use like hashtags and emojis and stuff. It's pretty cute. I think that the social campaign ones are the best use for it. That way it just creates like a little social post for you, but play with it a little bit and see what you like from it. And then there's Remine. I mentioned earlier, stalkery tool. Remine knows how long all of you have lived in every single house you've ever lived in. It knows how long everyone else has lived in all of their houses, and it's going to take all of that and come up with an average. So let's say, oh, it knows you live in a house for like 5 years to 7 years. It's going to take that number, come up with your average, and then compare it to everyone else in the neighborhood with their average, and then give you a self score, low, medium, or high. And that way you could go ahead and search people who have a high self score. Once again, just like the AI scriptwriter, this is an estimation. Computer doesn't have that human element. It doesn't have that heart of like, well, I'm perfectly in my self score, but I love this house. I don't want to go anywhere. Can't really, you know, think about things like that. So always, you know, use it as a guesstimation, but it is an awesome tool. Now, pivoting away from the tools a little bit, unless you guys have any questions, I want to talk about some updates specifically here in RMLSweb. And these things are things you might have run into recently. I hang out in the help desk. I'm also in the live chat. So if you've had any problems with RMLS, you might have run into me. Unless it was just posted in Masters of Real Estate, then I didn't see it. I don't have a Facebook account. Sorry, guys. If we go into the listing load, you're going to see I have access to everyone's listings, but that's not what's important here. Pay no attention to my staff magic. I want to talk about some changes that have happened here in RMLSweb. First off, I've been getting this question a lot recently. This is just a quick little question I get all the time, so I want to talk about how to answer it. People are searching my listing and I'm using align showings, and the align showings button is not appearing on the search results. How do I fix that?
Call Avery.
I will fix it for you, that's for sure. Under the edit tab as well, when you're editing your listing, it's just going to be here on the remarks page. There's one little checkbox that people are missing, and it's totally easy to miss these things. Broker agent information, align showings. If that button isn't checked, the align showings button won't appear for people who are trying to request showings on the search results. A really cool function that we've added recently, you might have noticed it if you do the same property in 2 different categories. The tax ID there, if you have the same tax ID listed under, let's say, for example, residential and multifamily. When you publish the second listing and put in that tax ID, RMLS is going to stop you. It's going to freeze your page and put a little notice there at the top that says, hey, we notice you have 2 listings in different categories. Do you want to link them? If you link them, what that's going to do is anytime you make an edit to one, it'll edit the other for you. It'll automatically update. You update the price, it updates the price on the other one. If you go to sold, it'll mark the other one sold other category. So it lets agents know, hey, this one's sold, but it didn't sell as a multifamily. Go check it out. It's sold as a residential. I mention this because it can be helpful, but it links everything. And when you make a change, it always makes a change to the other. And every so often I have someone call and they say, hey, Avery, I have a listing that's bare land and I have a listing that's a proposed residential, and they are very different prices. And I just updated the price on one, and now it's the same on both, right? My bare land is showing for, you know, this low amount, but the proposed building is as well. I wouldn't recommend linking them if they're going to be different prices. Particularly, that's the situation I see as bare land versus a proposed. Don't link them. When that message pops up, you can just say no, and that'll dismiss and not ask you to do that. If you need to link or unlink after the fact, give us a call and we'll take care of it for you. We could go in there and just remove that, and it's no problem. Sweet. And another tip while I'm here, this is something a few of you already probably know, but I just like to pop in here. Moving photos around, clicking and dragging them. It's a total pain, right? Well, that's because list and preview, in my opinion, is not the way to do it for sure. I don't know if you guys already know, but this little drop down right here, grid view small, it at least makes life so much easier because you just have to click and drag and do that. Just figured I'd mention this while we're in the photos. A lot of people don't know about this. Yeah.
Like almost every time I upload my photos on there, if I do like all of them at once, it only uploads like 8. And then I have to go back and
I recommend give it, even though it says it's done, give it a little extra time. Give it like a minute or two more than it says it needs. And that should upload a couple more. Otherwise, it might be like an issue with like an image that's like a little too big or small. Then that might cause some problems with RMLS. But we are looking at our photo manager. We know that right now it's very slow and it has some problems with that. And so we're going to poke in there and hopefully have some fixes for that soon. All right, I want to talk about a couple other things, but first let's get out a photo or listing load. I don't want to make any edits to this person's listing. Oops. They're going to be very surprised if I do.
If you're, have you already answered the question, switching offices for states?
Oh, yeah. So like if you have like you're working Oregon and Washington and you need to switch over. Yeah, if you just go in here, there should be a little button in your help drop down that says switch license. And you could pop in there and swap on over. What was that in the chat here? Or a question you had. All righty. So let me go over. I want to bring up something in search results here because August last year, we know there were some pretty big changes, many of them of last year, including the BAC thing. I want to take a quick second to cover my RMLS name tag and talk personally from me to you guys. The BAC is a bummer, but the thing I am most sad about that is crushing to me is you guys lost the ability to search by seller agent name and seller office name in the advanced search. That's a bummer. Real quick, just to answer the reason, because I get this question a lot. The reason the Department of Justice and when handed down this verdict, we wanted to change that, is they didn't want people to steer to specific agents that they know offer certain compensation numbers. So that's their thinking there. So they asked us to remove that from there. But let me show you a little trick I have, because if I love anything, it's workarounds. So let's go ahead and I'm just going to run any search. Do a search that's like generally in the area, you know, an agent works or an office or something works. And let's just go ahead and plug this in. This is a search I already have. This isn't what I'm searching for. Doesn't matter as much. What I want to show you guys is these views here in the top right. How many of you guys have used the views, the custom views? At least a couple. Okay. Let me go. I'm maxed out. You can have about 20 of these, I believe. I'm going to need to delete one just to create a new one for the class, of course. Let me just go ahead and do so. And then I'll show you guys what I can do with this because it's pretty cool. So click on the new button when it's not grayed out like it was for me, and it'll pop open this window. First thing it's going to show you is all of this. MLS number, P for photos, tag, address, city. This is the stuff you're used to seeing, right? That's the default, what it looks like. For example, I could go in here and say, I don't like that it says P. Let's say photos. Now that P updates to say photos instead. Or I want to move photos to the end. Boom. Or we have a search where let's say the square footage doesn't matter. Bedrooms and bathrooms don't matter. We know this. Let's say today we need days, cumulative days on market, the days on market. We could grab this. We could go ahead and grab HOA information. You could grab view info, tons of stuff, list price, list date, original max price, minimum price, other dues. But what I really want to show you, seller's agent name, seller's office name. You will be required to give this a name. Let's just call it test 513. In the detail tab, there's a few other buttons as well. You can have it show a thumbnail photo, which is always going to be the first photo, the map view. I always turn off this one because basically what it does is the little drop down detail. What it does is when you switch to that view, it makes it so all of them are open by default. That's a little too much for me. So I will go ahead and turn that off, and I'll only turn on the ones I need. You can also edit the detail view. So you change what appears in that drop down. But mostly I want to show the seller office name and agent name today. Save. It's going to take a second and it'll automatically switch to this view. And now, seller agent, click on that. It orders them alphabetically by name. So now I know they work in this area particularly. I can see all their listings. Same thing with office. I can sort it by offices as well. So you don't have the ability to go in there and search, but you can at least search in the area they work in and go ahead and pull up all the listings by that agent or office. So workarounds, I love them.
That's cool.
Right. And these views are great for a lot of things too. This is a way you can kind of create your own custom reports, print this page out or save it and send it out to your clients. We have about 3 minutes left of the normal time. I'm sure I can ramble on forever, but you guys probably want to get to the rest of your day. But if you guys have any questions about anything I've talked about so far, I'm happy to cover them here. Otherwise, I'll poke around and talk about a few other random things here.
Sure, we like random.
Yeah, I like random too. All right, so we have,
I have a question.
yeah.
So if you do an export, like the full export, why doesn't it pull days on market for active listings?
You know, that's a great question. I don't know right now, but I could ask our stats person and see if that's something they want to, that might be something we can add in there. Yeah, I'm not sure why actually right now, but I will.
Pending and unsold, they have days on market.
That makes sense. Okay, it just doesn't show up for the actives. Okay, I'll ping that over to them and see. One thing I always want to talk about here, and that's a big warning I'm going to say beforehand. I don't know when it's actually going to happen, so don't get too excited yet, but it's coming. We have a new app that's going to be released. And let me tell you already, I know that our old one, you said it, not me. It's not great. It's a little outdated. I think it was outdated the second it was released, but we've got a new one that's looking amazing. I don't know when it's going to come out. Keep your eyes up for it. We're not going to have a class for it, but if you guys want to have me come by and to talk about it a little bit in the office or come have us, one of the trainers talk about it, we'd be happy to. Like I said, we still have some things to go through before we're happy sending it out there, but it's being worked on. It's being, you know, things are happening in the back. And so hopefully we'll have that out for you soon or have some notifications for you on that soon. Another thing that I know is kind of in the pipeline a little bit is aligned showings. When aligned showings released, we now have 2 showing services, and those showing services do not speak to each other. Not for long. I don't know when this is going to happen, but we'll be able to interact. So if you use both and a showing comes in through showing time, it'll go to aligned showings or vice versa. So they will now interact. So you don't have to go in and manually put that showing in so that the time's blocked off in that other showing service. So these should be some pretty awesome new updates for you soon. I am sure we have all sorts of other cool stuff that I don't know about quite yet here. And then let me just mention, we got a little bit of extra time. So I've been doing a fair housing class recently. I don't know if you guys have gotten that one from any of the RMLS trainers yet. This has been a really good class, gets you an hour of CE, and we talk about some of the fair housing rules in RMLS and get kind of nitty gritty into what they all mean, what they do, and how to, you know, navigate that a little bit. Good way to get a CE credit here, and I'm more than happy to swing by. We've got other trainers that can swing by as well. So I'd love to do that and maybe swing by with some lockbox batteries too as well. But we are at, yeah.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt. What about the delayed marketing?
So
Theory that NAR is RMLS adapted?
we have like an idea a little bit. We posted a little bit of information. I know our lawyers and people are still talking about exactly how we want to do it because we already had that coming soon status.
Right.
So we wanted to kind of think of like, okay, how is this going to exist in the same space? On our homepage, we have a little bit of information. We still have more to go through, but NAR announces new MLS policy. So we just have a little bit. We're going to put out a full statement for you guys here soon when we have a final decision. Everything you guys list will go out to Redfin and Zillow if you do choose to have it, though. I know there was some talk about things not actually going out to those third-party sites, but they will hit those sites if you want them to. Of course, just like before, if you want, you can go in there in the listing load and turn those off. Speaking of listing load, I got to bring up one more thing just because I always mention it in these tips and tricks classes. A lot of people have buyers that want to remove photos after the house is purchased. If you ever want to do that, I get this call all the time. If you ever want to do that and you don't want to have to go through the whole thing of calling, data accuracy, and putting in a request to get them removed, photos, open the photo manager. There is, once it loads. Spinning. So how is your guys' day going, right? So there is a private button. This button will prevent it from going anywhere except for RMLS. This keeps the photo only in RMLS, and every photo except the first can be privated. So yep, all you do is just mark it down here, click that button. Now the listing agent has to do it, or if it's sold, you'll have to put in a request with RMLS. And then we can do it for you, but that way those photos will be off of Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, all IDX, VOW, all those other websites. They're in RMLS for our historical record and for CMAs and stuff, but the general public aren't going to be able to see them. So, yeah.
Up to what point can you remove those?
Um,
Can you do it
you-
while it's pending and like right before closing, do it or?
You can do it before it's sold. We can do it for you after it's sold.
Okay.
So even if it's a year after and
Sure.
you get the request, as long as we can clear it and prove and you get that paper trail, we'll take care of it for you.
Okay.
Best bet, I would recommend emailing the help desk with the request. That way we can take care of that for you.
But in our control, it's up until you.
Exactly. When it's pending, you still can, but once it's sold, that locks it for you. All right, any other questions? Well, hey, you guys have been great. I'd love to swing by again sometime and talk some more about RMLS. Goodness knows I can ramble so much longer than just 30 minutes, I promise you. Thank you. We just logged out, or you want to log out here? You're good to go. And I think that's the only thing I need.
Good. Thank you so much, Avery. That was
Okay,
awesome.
have a good day.
You too.
Yes. Thank you.